Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about switching jobs. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Fred, this might make a good video in the future, but what would a company have to offer you for you to leave your company? I asked this question because I would like to know at the level you are at, which appears to be a senior level in your company with quite a bit of pull. What would it take for you to leave your company? You do not seem to be that money motivated, so unless it was a significant pay raise, 40% increase in salary or something, I can't see money being a big factor in your decision. Perhaps if you do make a video on this topic, you could touch on what a junior and devs with only a few years of experience should take into consideration when deciding on jumping to a new company. Some of us are very money motivated, some of us just want to constantly play with new tools and tech stacks, and some of us may want to be the big fish in a small pond. I'm sure that you can point out the risks and rewards that come with all these reasons and help us create a better decision before leaving a company. Maybe the grass is not always greener on the other side. You are very correct. That is definitely, it very much depends now on what you mean by greener on the other side. So it really comes down to your perspective. My perfect example, I think at the very least is perfect, for people who will always find that the grass is not greener on the other side, are the people who believe that clean code really is high levels of like professionalism and focus on quality and so forth. People who have an almost unrealistic expectation from the work that they do, they will always find that the grass is never greener on the other side, because almost every single company has issues with their code base. They have issues with their work process, because no one. It's like kind of like, you know, looking for the Mr. Right or like the perfect girlfriend or whatever. Like, guys, no one is perfect. No one is living a perfect life, and no place of work has every best practice down. There's always room for improvement. And if that is something that frustrates you and you look for that sort of thing, it's really difficult for you. I would say that you can probably forget that you're going to find like a perfect place of work, because it's just not going to happen. But there are definitely things that are worth thinking about, and the grass can be greener on the other side depending on what it is that you are looking for. So let's start off by talking about myself. So the thing that is required for me to leave any company is, well, it basically comes down to personal development. Because it's the one thing that I truly care about. I mean, salary, definitely. If I get offered a lot of money, this is a fictional thing now. If you were to say that you were to offer me a lot of money, even if you did that, my first thought would be, okay, that's a lot of money. But the thing that I'm going to be doing, is that in any way going to make me feel more fulfilled, or it's going to be like a better place of work for me? Is it's going to end up with me feeling happy that I'm coming into the office, or like that I'm doing this thing? If the answer is no, then you would have to, then 40% wouldn't be enough. You would have to pay me an absurd, nobody's going to pay me that amount of money, because the thing that I calculate, and that is what I always calculate, is that my fulfillment. You have to remember, I love software development, not as a job, as a hobby, as everything. It is like I've said this before, I personally feel as lucky as somebody who is like a recording artist or a football player or whatever. Like, I'm not making their kind of money, but I'm getting paid to do something I would do even if I didn't get paid to do it. And that means that if I take that away, I'm actually taking away a big part of myself. I'm taking away something that, like, I like to say that if you hate your job, you have to somehow, it doesn't matter if it's a software development in general, if you hate your job, you have to earn so much money that you can somehow make up for it somewhere else. Otherwise you're going to be miserable. And I don't want to be miserable. And there's not enough money in the world who's going to fix that. I mean, unless you pay me so much that I work for you in a year or two, and then I just fuck off and retire. I don't know. Anywho, so for me, it's really comes down to the thing I'm going to be doing at the company and who I'm going to do it with. I actually recently, depending of course when you watch this, I switched jobs. I got offered an opportunity to work with my old mentor, the guy who taught me pretty much everything I know about front-end development. And he's a manager now at a fairly large company, and they were looking for, I didn't actually know that at the time when I was interviewing, but it was very flattering because I was talking to their core front-end team, which basically is, if you know how, say, Kent Dodds, who is like the guy in React, or when he was working for PayPal and so forth, and many other companies have the same thing. They have like a team of specialists in something, usually in this case it's frontend, who set up like SDKs, and like they standardize all of the work practices, and they like maintain, like they're basically in all the code reviews for all the other teams, making sure that everybody is like doing the right thing and like aligning things and so forth. And a lot of the work goes into like creating kind of standardized components and standardized work processes so that everybody can pull in the same direction. That is that, and I didn't know that, but they actually requested that I can come and do that thing. And that is, I mean, at my last company I was just doing like the normal product development stuff, so this sounded like the best opportunity ever. And I also got a pay increase, so hey, money and a very interesting project. And to add to this, I felt so lucky. I still feel, I mean, I'm still kind of high on the whole thing. It feels amazing. I got to work with people who are enormously talented. I've said a few times before that I've never felt that I've met a real true senior front-end developer, but these guys, they're towing the line. Like it's still early, but they are towing the line. They are good, like better than me in quite a lot of things. Like shit, like I'm just trying to keep up. And so that is the thing that would make me move from one place to another. For a junior developer, you don't have to be this way. But what I urge you really strongly now is that even if you are the most money-hungry person in the world, and that's okay, that's perfectly fine, remember something. You should, in the beginning of things, prioritize the quality of the role that you get. Because your monetary compensation and your hireability has nothing to do with the years that you have worked. It has almost always to do with how good are you. Do you have the social skills to sell yourself in an interview? Do you have the technical skills to back up those social skills? I'll give you an example. So for this position, like when I got the job, we then interviewed a few other candidates and so forth for similar sorts of jobs. And one of the guys we interviewed, he was a front-end veteran. He had, I think, 12 or 13 years within the space. That is like almost twice, at the very least, the level of experience that I have. And it was embarrassing for everybody involved to sit in that meeting, because he could not answer like even the most like, I mean, he did the code test, and we just assumed afterwards that he had copy pasted it from somewhere, or he had like Stack Overflow the whole thing, because not even basic knowledge of things like promises and how they work or things like that went through. He could not answer even the most simple things, and yet he had worked in many companies over many years. And so his skills were subpar, and it didn't. Who fucking cares if he's worked for 10-20 years if he can't do the job, or like if he cannot even get up to a level of proficiency within the space as someone who's been working for half his career, then he has no value. It's the same thing with you as a junior software developer. If you get the chance to work in one company where you have a lot of growth potential, versus a company where you do like these arbitrary little things or whatever you're doing with a little bit of a higher salary, the person who gets the quality skills will outpace you in salary every single time of the week. Even if you go into consultancy work, which is some of the most lucrative work that you can do, you have to remember, usually even if you are a consultant, they're gonna check you. And if your skills suck, or if you don't know how to speak the lingo, you don't know how to think the way that the industry is thinking and like how everybody interacts with people, you're not gonna get the job. And if you're really, really lucky, you might like you're gonna be at like the low end ass end of everything all the time. So if money really is a priority to you, at least I like to say this: invest around 2 to 5 years of quality years where you get a really strong foundation set of skills, and you will outpace a person who has twice your experience. I promise you. So consider that before you make a switch. If you feel that you have stagnated, I like to do this thing. I like to say every 6 months, am I where I'm supposed to be? Do I feel like I'm progressing? Do I feel like I'm growing my skill sets? If the answer is yes, I stay. If I'm unsure, I wait and see if something changes. If the answer is kind of no, then I start looking around and see what's out there. So what I want you to take away from this is that to get me to work at your company, it's not really. It's hard if you're just an average recruiter, because like you just don't work that way. To headhunt me or something like that, that's fairly straightforward. It really comes down to, well, I kind of know Frederick. I know like he likes these things and he's like passionate about these sorts of things, and we're doing this sort of work here where I think he would be a really good fit. It's very easy. That's why this job was like a no-brainer. My friend had been lobbying for it for like 3 years, I think, before we finally got to this point. But I mean, he delivered on everything. I am so happy that it finally went this way. And for a junior developer, someone with a more junior profile, I highly recommend to you, the grass is not always greener on the other side. If your expectation is that like, everything's going to be perfect and every code base is going to be nice or something like that, or there's a better code base out there. Some code bases are good, some code bases are bad, but it's never going to be perfect. Just accept that. It's reality, I'm sorry to say. But when it comes to money, remember, quality over quantity at the very least in the beginning, because if your skills are lacking as a senior software developer, you will not get hired. It will be almost embarrassing for how little interest you will see from the industry. Quality every single day of the week. Start by getting into a good role, invest 2 to 5 roughly years of quality working with real IT companies, and ideally in a team with peers and like senior software developers who can help you grow and so forth. And when you have that down, and in many cases you will still earn the same sort of money as if you were to go to like a small little agency where you do like toy things or whatever. Once that's down, then you can become a consultant and like money grab as much as you want, because now you're actually worth the pay that you're going to get, and the people who are hiring are going to see that. I promise you that. Have a great day.